I have them all in my little folder here. All right, this is Mark. Oh, before I do this, I wanted to give you all the heads up. Christian, all of you, even Key, you have to make your file names more readable. There's no reason to put the whole word volcano in there. Whenever you're naming a file, you should keep no spaces, and it looks like you all got that. There should be capitals mean something, you all get that. But almost all of you, your file names are too long. Christian, there's no reason to put both of your last names in there. Just try to come up with something like Christian. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to take
I think I should warn you is that usually the portfolio teacher is pretty adamant about the naming thing, even in other classes. Like he said that there is a correct formatting way to
right.
all right, format the files, and that he's going to be strict on those. That's all.
Right. But and everyone's got their own take on it too. So I just changed yours.
Well, that's what he's trying to like reduce.
So you should be able to see the entire name of your file as it sits on your desktop. Like when I did Principles of Animation 88, this one was one of the longer file names that I've ever generated. But it's still too long. I think I only did it that way so that I could find it. If I move it into a regular folder, I'm going to rename it. Keep your file names as short as possible. Just and remember too that this is not just the school making up a random rule. That game and animation studios have very particular naming conventions. You go into a 3D modeling job, and if you don't have your Chexter's name correctly, then that file is not going to render. So just a big heads up. Keep your file names as short as possible. All right, Mark. Okay, so this is looking really good. I'm going to set this on loop. All right, so just a couple of things. I think it's just a little obvious that you have these two bits of fire here that are right next to each other. I think they're animating okay, but I think that you can play around with the composition more and maybe take this smaller log and put it closer and further away to this other piece of fire over here. Mixing up yet another copy and paste of the fire might have helped. I think that for your explosions, for the stuff coming out of the volcano, I think that it can be 8, 10, 12 times as much stuff. You know, because it's there. I think it looks like it's moving correctly. But I think that you would just want more of it. Just keep going at it, keep going at it. The lava is fine. You are, where's my thing here? You're animation, so, and I think you did the right thing. You've got this thing at 6 seconds. The lightning looks okay. You got the white and black frames back there. That's good. Smoke is working pretty well. It gets a little changey. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pause this. And you can see here that like this is kind of, you know, kind of like cotton, right? And then it becomes more of a drawing in here. So I think that you want to just stay consistent with the, see how flat it's looking right there?
Yeah.
Right here. And then it gets more illustrative right in there. And I would recommend just trying to keep it like that. All right, so splash looks okay. Yeah, the only thing that would trigger any kind of worry artistically would be this very, very, very straight horizon back here. You know, if this is a volcano and we are in a volcanic area of the world, let there be mountains back here.
Okay.
And I don't think that we fully talked about this, but the idea would be the aerial perspective, the atmospheric perspective. So you can put like some kind of craggly mountains back here that continue off, and then some taller ones that don't quite go so as far. And then you got another volcano here you can play with. So you can keep this going. You can really break this up and then do the same over here where you got a certain amount of mountain range on this side, and the same thing kind of happens over here. I think that those lines right there just kind of dress it up a lot better. All right, so in your Zoom window, please clap for Mark. Oops. I want to see the clapping hands over there. Clapping hands, everybody, thank you.
Woo!
Okay, Jesse? Hold on one second. All right, I got this on loop already. So just a couple of notes for you. I think that you're into a strange little thing here with your explosions, the debris coming out of the volcano back over there. And one of the reasons for this is that it's kind of almost sentient. It's almost like they're characters because it doesn't look organic. Their motion looks a little bit unusual. I would say that you would need more of it. I think you repaired the clouds sufficiently. I think it's moving okay. But I think that there's a large contrast to the exterior of the quote technical bubbles. Why wouldn't the smoke itself have the same kind of treatment to the exterior line back there? Your lava is working okay. We got a pretty big area here where there's nothing happening. And how's your lightning? You have lightning in here? Yeah, okay, lightning is okay. Yeah, and the clouds just look a little funky. I think you can take a better artistic hand with those clouds that aren't moving in the background. All right, Jesse, everybody put your wet fat flippers together for Jesse. Javon, I just saw you show up. I did not see a volcano for you. I have extended the deadline in the volcano folder, so please put it in there.
Okay, got it.
All right,
Thank you.
Chrissy. All right, so I have some notes for you. I think the smoke is working pretty fast. I would slow it down by half, probably. But you've also got some sort of, I think your black card from one of your lightning is holding too long. See how it gets really dark right there? So go back into your Toon Boom folder and figure out where to limit that card. Artistically, I think that it's wrong to have this fire right on the edge of the screen, technically burning nothing. It's a technical no-no. It's an aesthetic no-no. And then the other ones, I think that you would want to have those bits of fire burning something. whether it's a clump of trees or bushes or a downed tree or a kindergartner or some second grader riding his bicycle who's completely on fire. Jesse's not listening to me. I think it's a little contrived that this tiny little pool of water becomes its own huge bubble. And I think that what you may want to do is treat this whole area here as it was a little pond or a mini lake or something like that. For your lightning is coming in and disappearing all at the same time. I think that you've got lightning on the left and a couple of bits on the right. Break it up. You know, let this one happen on the left first, and then on the far right, and then come back to the middle. I think that that would make it more interesting for sure. And at one point when I was previewing this earlier, at one point you've got some smoke that is still going backwards. So I think you just got to go back in there and very carefully follow your nodes. Just one last thing, and I think that you could be a little bit more artistic with the shapes, the variety of shapes that make up this bubble. And I also think that it collapses just a little too slowly. I think that when I did our demo, it was on 2s for just 2 or 3 frames, and you've got like 6, 7, 8 frames in there for the bubble to pop. Also, you know, when we did this, Chrissy, we had talked about this being a mud bubble as opposed to a water bubble or a soap bubble, or even like a balloon, which you might see popping on high-speed video on a YouTube channel or something. And we had picked the mud bubble because there were more specific shapes in there. So don't make the mud bubble blue, make it brown. Make it more earth tone in there. All right, put your wet fat flippers together for Chrissy, please. Ah. All right, this is Key. Oh, let me loop that. All right, first of all, make the raindrops more closer to white. Make the bubbles have a higher contrast of red to the lava itself. Your lightning looks okay. Your smoke is moving too fast. So I would slow it down by half. And I would also take that highlight and paint the highlight or change the highlight color to something more middle gray, because it's looking like a skunk back there. And as long as you've got a nice deep highlight in the smoke, then you should give yourself a shadow too. Just give yourself a little under shadow. Your mud bubbles, the lava bubbles are moving okay. Remember that they don't all have to be the same orientation. You can transform those horizontally. I think that you'll instantly regret copying and pasting and trying to make one complete cycle of the lava bubble a different color, because then they'll all be that same color. But they're not hard to make. And you might find it more interesting to keep the one on the right to be more orange, and then these guys over here to be a darker orange, kind of just like there's different elements in there. Your fire's looking okay. I think that you would want to transform all drawings and move this fire more closer to the focal point. So somewhere like right in here. Got a lot of space open in the sky up here. Just in terms of composition, just in terms of art. I think that you can certainly play with the possibility that there might be nearby trees. So we're looking at this, but there could be a tree that is really close to our camera right here. You could certainly do something like this. So this is unaffected by all that stuff. And maybe there's a different kind of tree over here. Maybe it's the same kind of tree. Something just to break it up. And maybe you can see, maybe there's a little different. Maybe you can see like the little trunk of the tree over here and then a branch coming out. And there's no reason why you can't cover up some of that smoke. Just in terms of, yeah, the fire would be here. Yeah, but you got to make your rain brighter. We can't see your rain. And then remember too, that when your rain is falling, that only in certain places you might find it fun to do like a little drop, a little raindrop. All right, that's Key. You got your notes for Key? Thank you, Key.
Thank you.
Clapping for Key, please. All right, Christian. All right, a couple of things for you, Christian. So I like this little lightning that you've got happening in this caldera. I'm only worried about this little piece right here because it would be flowing out. I mean, literally, you really should have some lava coming down this side of it, like it was pouring out. And so you can still do this. You can give yourself like a little pathway, and you can even do 2 little nodes like this, so that this node animates into this one, and then this one animates into this one, and then just get some lava flow that comes out of this area down here. You know, this is fun. I like all this stuff in here. Your lightning is good. It looks a little like a pencil drawing in the middle there. Let me get back over to QuickTime. Where's my QuickTime player? Hold on a second. There we go. So I think that you just want to make it look less like a pencil drawing and more like actual physical lightning. And so I'm just going to pick a green color here. So I think that if you were to fill this in with white, I think it would be better. Just filling that in and remembering too to give it some root kind of effect. Now, filling these little areas in here with white would definitely help. Yeah, and that one's a little messy. That one's a little messy. I think, again, if you're using the technique of the brush, that you will find that you can play with the inner and the outer thicknesses of the line, and that you could actually paint the line a light gray and then fill the interior of the lightning in with a white color. I'm not sure if the lava looks like it's flowing or that these guys look like they're little neurons moving in a brain. I think that that's because they're just kind of moving like blip, 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 I think they're moving just a little too slowly. And I think that in-betweening them will certainly help. Smoke is looking a little brushy. It looks like it's moving correctly, but then that one looks like it's going backwards. There's a few little places in there where it looks like it's going backwards. Okay, Christian, everybody put your wet fat flippers together for Christian. Drawings are still all over the board here. Yeah, that's weird. Okay. Linksy,
Yeah, I'm here.
how are you?
Good.
Luke, one second. Let me clear my sketches. Okay, so the composition looks pretty good. Are you animation or game?
Animation.
You're
2D
animation.
animation. 3D animation.
So you can't do this. You can't make a guy's head tangent to the background. This is called a tangent right here. And you're not allowed to do that. I mean, game people aren't allowed to do it either, but that's a really bad tangent. You got another bad tangent right there with the camera on that same line. So don't do that. I think that as long as you've got this character here, I think that eventually you should plan on doing something with him. You know, like startled by the lightning and he just zips into his tent. And so you should probably do like a little reaction where he, you know, he flips out, his feet actually come off the ground. He's like, yipe. And then he takes an anticipation and then just beelines it right into the tent. All right, so your smoke is working okay. I think it's moving a little fast. I think that, let me see if there's a AV controls on here. I used to be able to control the speed. Yeah, they quit. Apple took away. Apple took away QuickTime Control. There was a whole bunch of cool things that we could do right there for in the AV window, but they're not there anymore. All right, so yeah, I think they're moving a little fast. Your lava's looking okay. The splash in here looks okay. I think that just because of the volcanic activity, there should be more of it. I think you probably want 2 or 3 more of those. And then the only true thing that is actually technically wrong is that you've got a whole huge focal point right here where there's nothing happening. And one thing that you should consider is what could possibly be happening here. You know, I think that with the projectiles coming out that you didn't do, you know, maybe one of them hits the sign and burns the sign or something like that. But your lightning looks okay. Your smoke is moving too fast. It should be slowed down at least by half.
Got it.
All right, clap for Linksy, everybody. Kazuma. All right, so I don't mind the pastel, but I think that it's not passing the squint test. So I think that what you would want to do is you'd want to go back in there and look at a color palette from Mary Blair or there's a whole bunch of Disney layout artists from the 50s, 60s, and 70s that just were absolutely astonishing at their craft. But with this, I think that you could use some yellows and maybe some more earth tones. You will learn in animation that if you have a tilted camera, it causes tension. It's called a Dutch angle. But it's not really the Dutch. They were making fun of the Germans. But the American filmmakers were idiots and they translated Deutsches into Dutch. So it's called a Dutch angle, but they were making fun of German expressionism. So a tilted angle definitely creates tension. And I think that I would buy the Caldera having the same twisted, rotated orientation as the background, but you've got a limit to your smoke right here that's not hidden behind this front volcano plate. And what you really should literally have done was taken this whole purple and put it on a layer on top of everything. And then extended this volcano, this smoke
no.
from the volcano below it.
Hang on.
Because right now it's jittering around indiscriminately and not animating correctly. And if you do have it hidden behind there, then just fix it. I think it's a little contrived that you've got these big, huge, shadowy bubbles. I think that you could probably try to find some more interesting shapes. I think the lightning definitely needs that white card, black card, white card flash. And you've got a couple of artistic things. These two mountains end up becoming kind of sort of tangential to each other because they're just touching. But these don't have as much contrast. So you've got like a midground plate, a foreground plate, and then background plates that have the same color of the mountain and then a pink or peach mountain. And then you go back to this. I think that you need just a little bit of art direction in there. All right, Uma, everybody, put your fat flippers together for Uma.
There we go.
All right, Daniel.
Yep.
All right, I think I wrote in your critique that
Yes.
the first thing I noticed was that the rock was still just too big. So in a full critique here, I like your fire. I think that you may want to separate the fire from the thing it's burning with like a little bit of charred area. It doesn't have to be
the log.
it doesn't have to be animating, but I think it's just a little inconceivable that this fire is burning this thing that kind of looks like a log, but there's no char on it.
Okay.
So your smoke looks good. Little shadow there. Try a highlight up here.
Got it.
The lightning looks okay. The little flash back there. I think you're missing the lava. You could certainly have some lava pulsing out of that puppy up there. The water splash looks okay. And it does look like you have bubbles over here on the left. Maybe the thing to do would be to scale this one up right there, that one. Because this log is in the foreground against this rock, I think you owe it to your audience to give like a little shadow here of the log on the rock.
Oh, I see.
And maybe some details like some like broken smaller pieces of bark or twigs or something. You do have it in the immediate foreground. So you're obligated to show us a little bit more detail right there. Even on this little ridge right here. All right, wet fat flippers together for Daniel, everybody, please. Wet fat flippers.
Give me them flippers.
And Farah.
Hello.
Hello, hello. Okay, so a couple of things here. I think your smoke is working okay.
Yeah, I'm just feeling a bit unstressed.
I think that you need to finish this lava, but in order to finish the lava, I think that what you need to do is you've got it. Oops, you've got it started. Oh, come on, man. All right, so we've already seen it looping. You've already got it starting to go from here to here, but I think what you need to do is you need to extend this so that it goes behind this ridge down here. And so that you're now creating,
Okay, so just started farther down.
yeah, you've got a node here that goes to here, that goes to there, but in the same number of drawings, bring the nodes out so that it goes all the way down.
Okay.
There's something kind of unusual happening with the bubbles in this caldera. I think that you've got them so bubbly that it looks like soda pop. It looks like champagne. I think you might want to reconsider that. And the reason for that is because you are playing with just some very light and neutral colors for your environment, which I think is fine. But it is kind of sort of a realistic. You've got realistic smoke, realistic lightning, realistic lava. I think that you need fire, like right here, for sure. I think you need projectiles coming out of the volcano, for sure. But then this doesn't match. This kind of looks like, it looks like champagne. It looks like a fruit punch. So you may want to consider this because it doesn't,
Okay.
just because it doesn't match.
Okay, I know for sure I don't want to include fire because I feel like if I add that, it'll just look a little bit too out of place.
Then put it in one of your other projects.
Yeah, that's what I'm planning to do.
Okay. All right, let's go back over to the
Thank you.
class here. You're welcome. Oh yeah, clap for everybody. Art, 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 art. All right, volcano. I got 2 of them in there. All right, we got Christy. So see how I can add a spring show right here? So I'm just gonna add this to the spring show. And then I'm gonna download it.
Billy, I didn't do any changes. I started my tornado.
What about your tornado?
I didn't do the changes because I did the tornado the past week, or I started the tornado.
Well, I know, but we still haven't seen this in session yet.
Oh, okay.
So don't worry yourself. We're just critiquing.
Okay.
And remember too, everyone, that you can still adjust these, and if par as to my critique. Oh, you know what? Shoot. All right, so Jack, you didn't even put your name on yours. You just have midterm.
Oh,
And the same thing. Christy, you don't have your name on yours.
I'm sorry. I think what had happened was when I was uploading it, I saw my name on it, but it wasn't because of the file name. It must have been because of the directory, because it was on users Jack Parenti desktop. So that was careless of me.
All right, Christy. All right, so this is pretty much the same as last week, right?
Yeah.
So still the same thing. I think that you want a stronger contrast between your smoke and the background. I recommended you putting the flame over here and having maybe a bit of smoke that just curls around and dissipates. And you fixed the table the wrong way. Or maybe you just didn't fix it at all.
No, I didn't
It's
fix
the
it.
same kind of notes from last week.
Yeah.
Same notes. Okay, Christy, everybody put 5 flippers. Christy? And all right, this is Jack, right? All right, Jack, it looks a little in progress.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's okay. I think that the lava is looking pretty good. I like this idea. I like the explosion that's happening here. I think that you should finish that,
Yeah.
finish the fire.
And then when I'm done with that, I plan to kind of readdress the smoke because I noticed that the in-betweens aren't looking too clean. They're kind of losing their shape in some areas.
Yeah, and I noticed that you got a little vector problem happening. The
Yeah.
places where the paint didn't go all the way to the edge.
Yeah.
And you don't want to like go back in there and paint it again because then you'll get like a whole gradient.
Yeah. No, I dealt with that already. So
Okay.
I'll
Yeah, finish
I'll
the fire.
I'll clean up the.
But put a variety of size on your droplets here.
Okay.
I still think that you're going to need to do a real water splash for me and a bubble. You got some rain in there. The lightning is okay. But one option for you, because this blue line is becoming very graphic, that you may want to treat it like a blueprint. So you have these like finished special effects on top of a background that's just looking very blueprint-ish, if that's a real word. But in order to pull that off, you're going to need quite a little bit more detail of the blueprint in the foreground, especially in the foreground area. And you just need to finish it.
So you mentioned already the splash is not really counting towards a splash because they're too small in scale to be like really be testing if they're keeping your ideas in mind, but that applies to the bubble now too.
I just need to see it in one of your projects.
Right.
That's why I had you all think about doing sketches for all your projects as early as week 1 and 2.
I mean, I got that, but I did do that. Although granted, okay, no, that's fair.
You know, so now you're thinking now we're rolling into this tornado, which is part of the class. But the problem is that doing a tornado and a water splash, does it match the theme? You know, is it?
Well, I mean, that was the thing with the water and the bubbles that I was trying to do.
then-
That I noticed in a lot of the compositions, the earlier ones, they seemed rather ununified, especially because of the scale.
So then just do it separately.
All right.
But then it's going to look weird that it's going to be a file all by itself.
I mean, I get that. But.
Know what I mean? Okay, so let me. I got a weird thing going on here with Zoom. Hold on a second. Hold on. Oh, wait. All right, I want to do this. I'm not sure how I can do this.
So why doesn't though the lava bubble count though? Because is it because of how it pops that just looks?
Your lava bubble?
Yeah.
Let me just.
Like I understand. Like I said, I totally understand the water one, the case for the raindrops, but
Because
last week we were talking about it. It didn't sound like it was an issue.
well, because yours just look like raindrops.
No, I get the raindrop ones. Like I said, the water bubble, the lava bubble one though, that was something you've kind of tacked on this week. Like, oh, that's not going to count too. It's like cool. Now, two of the things in my assignment apparently don't count for that,
Well, wait.
and that's a little frustrating. That's gone from 1 to 2. Is all my
So
point.
where is your lava bubble?
It still needs to be filled in. It's that orange thing, explosion thing you mentioned.
Oh, all right. Well,
It just simply hasn't had I haven't had the chance to like re-go in and.
no, that's fine. It's
Okay.
just looking. It's just a little unconventional, but that's fine.
Okay. Okay. Cool. So I will go in though, finalize that to give it a filling. I was just concerned that I would have to do like water, fill in the bubble on this, and then do another bubble assignment with a more like conventional bubble, and that was like Christ.
No, no, you don't have to do that.
Alright,
I just didn't see it. I thought that that was your projectile.
Yeah. No. Alright,
Okay,
cool.
so I'm not sharing my screen. Let me share my screen one more time. So Jack, let me just, oh boy, that's kind of a weird thing. All right, so what I want to do is just give you more of an artistic direction for Blueprint. And let's see if I can find one that matters. So I don't know if you've done this yet, but blueprints can, let's like look at one. So I don't think you need the words in there for sure, but as far as the drawing goes, this kind of look and feel might be really fun for your volcano. So you're probably not going to find a blueprint of something organic, but you could certainly use these to make the art direction for your volcano. Can you see that?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, give that a try. So instead of trying to do full-on color and realism, just treat your whole landscape like it was a blueprint.
Mhm.
And then remember that you do want to play with atmospheric perspective.
Yeah. I was. Oh no, I see what you mean.
So what that means is that anything near the camera is darker and in focus and more detail. And the further away you go from the camera, the less detail, the more mist, the more particulates in the air. And I think if you combine those two things, if you combine the idea of your details just being in blueprint form, so you've got some sort of white line or blue line against a light blue background, and the idea of this atmospheric perspective, might be a fun art direction for you. The other thing to remind yourself is that atmospheric perspective is often called aerial perspective.
Mhm.
Two things that are exactly the same.
Oh, okay.
All right, so let me get back to my thing.
I linked a little scene from Son of the Mask that sort of does a blueprint style animation for a scene, Jack, in case you want to watch that just for a second.
That really.
Yeah, let me, I clicked an odd button on my Zoom thing here. Now I got a strange view. Let me. All right, got that. All right, here we go. All right, so I'm going to, okay, so we want to click on, you can all click on this link in the Zoom. I'm just going to assume.
Writing's not that easy.
Ah!
Grammarly can help. This sentence is grammatically correct, but it's wordy and hard to read. It undermines the writer's message, and the word choice is bland. Grammarly's cutting-edge technology helps you craft compelling, understandable writing that makes an impact on your reader. Much better. Are you ready to give it a try? Installation is...
Sorry about that. So who posted this? Daniel?
I posted it on chat, yeah. Just skip to 114.
114?
Yeah.
So yeah, in my work, it's definitely white on blue, but your art direction is dark blue on light blue. But so Jack, what you might want to consider is both of those things. Because right now you've got dark blue lines on a lighter blue background, but maybe you can work in some lighter blue for details. All right, so according to my list, I am missing a volcano for
What was that?
Millie.
I
Millie's
was
not.
actually thinking of maybe warming up the lines if they're facing the lava. I thought but it looked kind of weird when I first tried it, but maybe I'll experiment with that instead. A more graphical direction instead of blueprint.
Well, you're welcome to try anything.
Yeah.
And you can bounce it off me. Just, you can, if you want to put it in the classroom, in the instructor's office, or if you want to send it to my Yahoo, I could even bounce it off you more quickly. Javon, do you have a volcano that you put into the folder? I don't see it in there.
I'm uploading it right now.
All right, so it is a little unconventional to take a break this early, but let's take a 5-minute break. Take 5 minutes.
Cool.
Farah?
Yes.
Farah? Yeah, I saw your note, but you're here.
Yeah. Because I was trying to find the link, I had to email a classmate to get the link.
It should still be in the
Yeah, I tried looking everywhere, but I couldn't find it, so I had to email someone else to get the link.
it is in the discussion area, right?
I checked, but I couldn't find it. So either I somehow overlooked it, or
It should be, it's the same link for the entire semester. So right now it is called oh, that's not it. Hold on. Oh, yeah, it's very strange. It could be that everyone else just kind of had it. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in there again. So you all take a break. I'm going to put the link in there again. Let's look at Javon's. Javon, your file name is completely and totally and absolutely out of control. You need to keep your file names as short as possible.
Sorry about that.
And now I renamed it, but now I can't see where I put it. Oh, I changed your name to VOL Javon.
Okay.
Volcano Javon. And then there's a space, so let me get rid of that space. So you see it right there? Oh, no, wait, hold on. So that's how I named your file.
Okay, got it.
And you do say that it's in progress, but you should be further along with this by now.
Yeah.
Something is not right here. Hold on a second. I think you used the wrong aspect ratio. This does not look 16:9.
Yeah.
16:9 looks like this. It's wider than it is tall. See that?
Yeah, I think I messed up the crop when I exported it.
So someone's got some background noise happening. Could you
That
figure
may
out who
be
you
me.
are and mute yourself? All right, so it's only 2 seconds here, Javon. I mean, we were talking about 5, 6, 10 seconds. I like
Yeah,
that.
I'm gonna add fire right there where the
I
lava
like what
flows.
you've got, but I think that for only 48 frames, I think you should be extending this out into the, and you can slow it down too, a little bit.
Right.
I like the graphic nature of it, but yeah, and you need lightning and projectiles and lava and fire and mud bubbles and everything. So keep working on it, please.
Okay.
Javon, everybody, which wet fat flipper together for Javon.
Smoke is looking clean, my dude.
Thanks, man.
Okay, So the next thing I want to do here is show you this. And this is what I was whinging about last week. And so what this is just moving things on a path in Toon Boom. And you can kind of see that I've got things moving at a different rate here. And like I said, there were different tools when I learned how to do this. So I think this has been tweaking things and moving things around. There's a complicated way to do this with using pegs, but I think that that's part of the reason why mine is screwed up. Also, when I opened up this file again this morning, I think it's really great for me to be able to instruct you to show how to move something along one key to another key and to see how it's moving, whether it's easing out of a position or moving into a position or moving at a regular speed. And you can kind of see that. You can kind of see just by the little tick marks going frame by frame by frame. This little cloud here is moving at a very even rate. That cloud on the bottom, this one right there is moving at a very even rate. And there's a thing here in the timeline where you just, now this is probably going to work now that I'm talking about it, but if you highlight the entire timeline and you go view, show, and control, it should show you that little motion path. But Toon Boom is being a hare this morning. Let me try it this way. Yeah, so it's not behaving itself. This one, it's this one, and usually you shift select the entire timeline and you hit view, show, control, and it should be showing me the path, but it's being a bear right now and it's not listening to me. Here's how you do this. Let me just show you a couple of different ways. The ones that are on pegs right here, I have redirected so that you can actually change the position of where the whatever it is, the cloud moves, and you can kind of see how it's moving. See that? Concentrate on this cloud right there, and so that's a way of being able to directly affect what's moving on the stage. So I'm moving one keyframe on the last keyframe just by being able to see the entire thing. Whoops. All right, so here's how you do this. We're going to do it the simple way. I'm not going to show you the peg thing just because it gets a little complicated. Animators will learn that in your Daisy Church class. But what I'm going to show you is just a way to do it very simply. So you're going to need a drawing layer. And so I'm just going to call this 4 drawing layer for. It's a vector I'm going to add, and I'm going to close this. I'm going to move it to the very top. And on this layer right here, for this one, I'm running out of room here. I'm going to do it off the stage up here. I'm just going to take on the first keyframe with a black pencil, set a typical, I'm just going to draw a cloud. It's not an angry cloud, it's just up in the sky. And again, this is just a really great way to add ambient animation to your scene, so right now I've got one drawing in this layer 4. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go all the way out to the end of the clip and hit F5, which extends the exposure. That's the second step. The third step is I can either right click on the very first frame and hit insert keyframe, or I can just hit F6 and I get my little keyframe right there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this entire layer right here, and I want to make sure that my animation guy is on and my transformation tool is selected. And then I'm going to hit this tool right here, which is set motion path. And then on this last keyframe here, I'm going to grab this guy and move it. And as soon as you see that black line go crazy across the timeline, that means you've done it right. That means that now this is the last keyframe, and I'm going to move that cloud. Let's just take this cloud, and we're going to just move this cloud really slowly. Now, one thing that I really should be doing is hitting the shift key, because I don't know if I move this up or down. Let's take a look at it. So it is moving downwards, which is why I would really love to be able to show you Shift select, view, show, control, and I'm not seeing my controls. I can see the controls for the other ones, but it's not showing me this. But what I'll have to do is this is my first frame, click to the last frame, and then just move this guy up a little bit. Oh, this is strange. I can see that this is the control down here. So if I take this and move it, it's so let me show you how to deal with this. This is a little bit messy right here, but as long as it's let's see if it's working correctly. So it's working correctly. It's moving at a steady pace. What I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this entire timeline for just this cloud. And I'm going to click on this little button right here, which is the set ease for multiple parameters. I'm going to click on this. And now I can see that on frame 1, my element is here, and on the ending frame is 59. It goes that distance in the X coordinate. So now I'm just going to take this and I'm going to move it out just to the end. And what that does is it's going to speed up. It's going to speed up as it goes. So I'm going to hit apply and close. And now in this little area right here, you can see that the little tick marks are close together, and then they get a little further apart. So what ends up happening then is that even though it's moving slowly, it's going to start moving a little more quickly towards the end. See that? Just moves a little more quickly. And now again, this is the pivot point for this, which is out of place. So let's do this one more time. And let me show you how to correct that. So I'm going to put a new drawing layer. It's going to be 5, add and close. All right, so, and I don't know why this defaulted. This is probably just my rig by itself. So once again, I'm just going to draw a small little cloud. All right, before I do anything, I'm going to hit my main select tool. I'm going to select this guy. Oops, hold on. I'm going to select this guy, and my zoom window is in the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this tool right here, which this allows me to change the pivot point. So I can see that there's a pivot point up here, and I'm just going to grab this and put it right in the middle of the cloud. So it looks to me that with the current version of the Toon Boom I had, whenever it updated, it put the pivot point for anything new in the very middle of the drawing, which is not technically what I wanted. So let's just take a look at this. So that pivot point now is you redirected the pivot point for all new drawings with this little translate tool right here. All right, so going with the same process, we're going to go to the end of the clip, hit F5. We're going to go to this and hit F7, F6, which sets a keyframe. We're going to turn on our translate tool. We're going to highlight the entire line of frames in the timeline. And I'm going to hit this tool, which set motion keyframe. Again, these two tools have to be selected. Now I'm going to grab this and hit the shift key at the same time, which constrains the X coordinate. And hold on, I did that wrong. I have to be on the last frame. Now I'm going to do it again. And as soon as I let go of my mouse, I should get a black line. If you don't get the black line, you did something incorrect. All right, so now let's see if we did the pivot point correctly, because if we did the pivot point correctly, then when we shift select all of this and hit view, show, and control, there, now I get my line. So that shows you every single frame. Every single frame. Let's do this one backwards. We're going to go to the last keyframe. We're going to shift select the entire line. We're going to hit this key right here, the set ease. And now you can see that this is backwards. Now this little triangle is backwards because I picked the last frame. So now I'm just going to make it go easing out of the move. So it's going to move fast, and then slow. I'm gonna hit apply and close. And now you can see what happened to my little tick marks? So now you can see that it's moving fast and then it slows down. So if it is moving fast and slowing down, what you may want to do is shift select and make the cloud really small by translating it, because we're still on the translate tool. So now, just with my example number 5, it moves fast and then slows down into the position. So that's how you move something along a path in Toon Boom. There's also a couple other complicated ways. Like I said, animators will learn how to use these pegs, and you can make curved paths, but we're not going to do that right now. All right, got any questions? No questions? Key, no questions?
I was using keyframes on some of my stuff.
It's okay, as long as you know how to use it correctly. The hard thing is that, hold on one second. Yeah, my Zoom is funky today. Well, I'm just fighting with the Zoom right now. All right, need my control bar. There we go. Okay. So I stopped sharing. So what I'm going to do now, that was me just fighting with Zoom. What I'm looking for is any questions regarding that. It's not the most complicated thing you've ever seen, but it can be complicated, especially if you're accidentally hitting F6 instead of F7 or F5 or F, it's really tricky with the keyboard shortcuts. Give yourself lots of room for errors, please. And again, it's really good for just something moving in the background on a one-off if you've got something that doesn't need to loop. If it doesn't need to loop, or if it goes off the stage and goes off the stage again as a full loop, that's one way to do it. All right, so let's take a look at some of these tornadoes. We did this last week, but let's do this again. All right, and remember that we didn't have a whole huge amount of volcanoes because that's right when the tornadoes. See, I just did it again. We didn't have a whole bunch of tornadoes because that's right when the pandemic hit. So, this is a good one. It's simple. There's no name on it, which is good, so you can't follow that student back. I think the debris is not moving like debris. I think the debris is moving like pixie dust. I do see apparent motion of this counterclockwise twirl, which is fine. So this is B work. I don't mind the odd colors, obviously. All right, let's see if we can find another tornado. I don't know if we saw this one last week. But let's study this one for just a minute, just because it's very much like mine. This student was kind of following my lead of making the rotation on an angle, which I think it's a good idea. And it's up to you. You don't have to use this oblique angle here if you don't want to. Sometimes it makes more sense to just keep it level. You know, this implies that the tornado is just really screwing up the debris from the ground and pulling it very far up into the atmosphere very quickly. And I like this little ball coming in and moving around it. I think that's fun. It's nice. But I think his debris is not moving correctly. This debris is just scattering. It's only just scattering right now. All right, so let's take a look, see if we can find another one. All right, so a couple of things, and I might have alluded to this in the first bit of the class last week, is that when I first started doing the tornadoes, any number 3 or 4 years ago, oh man, it was very cinematic. I had a whole bunch of animators in the class, and I had them draw a background, and then I had the tornado spinning in a counterclockwise manner because that's how storms move. They move counterclockwise. And it started out being really small, and then this thing kind of swerved around and it came really close up in the camera, and it took way too long. And so I think that this student was not doing that, but they were kind of looking at that backwards and forwards motion. And I believe what I'm seeing is just not as much of a attention to detail about getting into the far right and far left positions as they could, because it's just kind of wiggling around a little bit too much. The ribbons of what would be smoke don't look like they're fully enveloped and going all the way around it. This one looks like it's just going front and back, front and back, front and back. The little yellow things are more nebulous. They look more like a debris. But this student is also not following my example of using a perspective in the ground plane and a perspective in the sky, so that you can see more of a direct impact of scale. So let's put that one away. So you know, that one's good, but I think that it could be better. All right, we looked at this one last week, and I'm pretty happy with this. The debris looks like it's moving correctly away from the bottom, out like a water splash. I don't see that I have a whole lot of apparent motion of my green, but I can see that the light green and the blue are kind of moving around the center core. I can definitely see motion going upwards in these outer ribbons. This is either B+. What's that?
I was going to ask actually if this was considered A, but you just said it's B+, so.
Yeah, this is like B+, A- work. I also think it's not
Okay.
finished. I think that it would be much more better if there were clouds up in the sky, that kind of deal.
What is the frame rate? On this end, it kind of looked like they were going like on 8 frames, 4 frames per second. Was it in
Yeah,
between?
twos, 24
Oh, okay.
FPS on twos.
That might have just been the feedback from the
Oh, yeah,
screen
so
then.
Yeah,
it's
Zoom makes it look weirder.
So yeah,
Yeah,
Zoom is gonna cut that.
Cool.
All right, so this one is in progress. This is probably the very week we left campus in spring semester. But you can see that she is definitely thinking about the inner order, so that, let me loop this. And so she's got this left and right, the center core, it's moving left and right, and the little ribbons are moving around correctly. And she's starting to think about the debris, and she's got a sense of perspective in the sky. So this is a really good example of where I would like you to be next week. Oh, this is weird. It just took away all my recent scenes. All right. Having said that, let's jump over to All right, I'm gonna have to open up my Toon Boom folder again. Okay. All right, so let's just take a look at what we've got here just as my example. We've got a 32 frame loop. All right, so let's talk about this for just 1 second. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my perspective. And so this is just about right. So what I have decided is that I like the horizon being on this little line right here. Hold on 1 second. Okay. All right, so I like this horizon being right here. Let me turn that off again for you just for a moment. BG, no perspective. So that's my grid right there. And I'm just flashing it on you so that you can see that there's a slight difference between what I had for the background right here, which is just a simple slope. And you can use anything you would like. And the sense that the vanishing point is right there. So what happens then is that when you start drawing these lines out here for the ground, the perspective on the ground plane, it makes a difference for what this debris field is like. And so when we get to this debris, you can see I've drawn a little example here of the any of the debris that's going up and falling and bouncing like a bouncing ball in many different many different instances of debris coming off. So I like this because we can have debris coming towards the camera. All right, and then we've got a grid that's up in the sky. So that on this perspective layer, what I'm going to do is just add a little bit of specific okay, so what I am intending here is that on the perspective grid, that you're going to be following a square that's about this big. And inside that square are a couple of things. One, you've got a center point that goes to the vanishing point. And then literally there would be a vanishing point off to the left and to the right. So this is the very center of the high point of your volcano. I'm sorry, your tornado. See, I keep doing it, Jack. And then what you do is you draw a perfect circle within that grid. And this gives you the very top. Does that make sense, everybody? Link C, you can looking at it? Okay, so then on the bottom down here, your square is only going to be about this big. Once again, you'll have a center point. That's the very bottom of the tornado. So right here, right along the horizon, right along the vanishing point and the horizon, this circle is now flat. Everyone understand that? Okay, so let's do another one. Let's do this one in pink. So right now the volcano is just about, it's a tornado, is just about this wide right here. So we're just gonna figure out because it's a cone, right? It has dimension to it. So the square for the center of the tornado right here is just about that big. So that's what we're doing with this grid, is we're figuring out how big it is at the top, how big it is in the middle, and how big it is at the bottom, and how the orientation is that we're looking up here and we're looking down here. And then we're looking right at the edge of it right here. So that's as simple as the perspective grid gets. All right, so then having started that, what we're going to do is we're going to look at a couple elements. So I think that what I've done in this drawing layer is I started to figure out how it was going to move. So I only have 4 drawings. And what I determined is that, and I'm going to do this on the perspective layer. No, I'm not. I'm going to do this on the drawing layer here, but I'm just going to explain it off of it a little bit. You can do this a couple of different ways. The first way is that you can find a center. What you can do, the first way you can do this is you can animate an S shape. So this could be your drawing number 1. And then in drawing number 2, you can, well, actually, if you're going to do 4 or whatever, you can figure out how far you want this extreme to be. So right now what I'm doing is this is the second drawing. This is the third drawing. Again, I want my onion skin open so I can see the other drawings. I'm going to put it over here. All right. So what I'm doing is I'm animating. So I know that this is drawing number 1 right here. Let me go back to it. This is drawing number 1. This is drawing number 3. And drawing number 5 is going to be, this will be the extreme. And I can cross over on this point right there again. I can cross over on this point and then like that. But what I need to do is not, and then this is drawing 5. So what I need to do is get back to drawing number 1. And so in the next drawing right here, this might be the limit of how far. Now I can redo drawing number 3 if I want. That'll certainly work. It doesn't have to be in exactly the same place. I could just do this, that, and then I'm going to go and I'm going to start to draw here. That was drawing number 7 that I just did right there. This is drawing number 7. And now what I'm going to do is in this open frame right here, I'm going to come back even closer to the center, like that. And I'm going to go out to the next. So that was drawing 9. Keep track of these. Now I'm going to go, I'm going to keep this on 2s. And now I know that what I'm going to do now is flip the line of action. So now I'm just going to flip this like that. I'm going to go out 2. That was drawing number 11. And now this will be drawing number 13. And this is as far out as it will go to the right. And then this one, and that was drawing 13. And this will be drawing 15. And it's going to come back towards the center. And so we just did like a little wave. And I'm just going to increase this exposure right here by 1 frame. And right now we are 16, so this is 8 complete drawings. Let's just take a look at, see how that little wave right there moves. I want to limit this to just the 16 drawings. All right, so it's definitely got the wave. I think it might be moving just a little too fast. And we're just looking at that little purple dancing around in there. I think that what you can do is make that determination for yourself. For us, we're going to take this open. And as you're planning your timing out, what I'm going to do is just put this on 4s. Oops. I'm going to put all these on 4s. And again, we're just going to look at this purple to see if it's moving correctly. and with the correct amount of time. So that's nice. I like that. And I'm not sure if I need to go back in and put it on 2s or anything, but right now what I've got is 33 frames, and it should be 32 frames. I wonder why it says 33. Oh, I think I have an extra frame right here. There we go. It's 32 frames. So it's 8 drawings on 4s. So that's how I would move the center core. And then on that layer, what I would next determine, again, I'm going to use this purple color to go back to my grid. So if I turn my perspective on and remember, it's going to be really big at the top. It's going to be more narrow in the middle. And so what I can do is, instead of drawing the circle, I can draw just the edge loop. So I'm going to follow the same arc right here. And I'm just going to, I'm going to bring that in just a little tighter.
What's happening in 3D, by the way? Like, because it looks like it looks kind of like this pole, this crooked pole we're having. It's just kind of spinning in a circle. Is it just doing that? Is it more?
Yeah,
is it more of a matter of nodes moving circular, or?
Well, yeah, everything is just moving around it in 3D. But remember,
Well, like in a sense, yeah.
well, it's just not moving left or right. It's just kind of wiggling around.
Okay.
All right, so then I'm just going to do this on the very first frame. And I'm trying to think tornado. And I'm going to end the lines kind of right there on my perspective grid. I'm going to go to the next keyframe. I can see it's moving a little bit more to the left here, and then it's moving to the right. There, see how it's moving to the right of the red line? So then I'm just going to move this. This part has to move left. See how you did this? This is the center line right here. So it's moving to the left. And then this part is moving to the right. We got 2 things moving at once, going down to a center point. All right, next keyframe. It continues to move to the left in the upper part, and then it moves to the right in the middle part. Now it's moving to the left in the lower part, so follow the same thing here. It doesn't have to be a lot, but you do want to keep track of it moving in the correct orientation. Next drawing. All right, so now it's starting to come back. So in between these 2 lines right here, or right on top of the other one, which is about right there, and follow the same thing. It's moving, now it's moving a little bit more to the right. It's moving back to the right, somewhere about right here. All right, this is always a good approach to get the main part working. So now it's moving a little bit more to the right. A little bit more to the right at the top. And now it's flipping. So now this line, which we had just drawn, I don't think you need to flip it, but you can if you want. I mean, this might be really aggressive from the last keyframe. Oops, hold on. Oh, I'm on the wrong layer, hold on. I don't know how that happens sometimes. All right, so now I'm worried because I think I drew a purple line on a layer that wasn't supposed to be there. So I'm gonna change my mind a little bit. And I do like this, but I'm not gonna go at it quite so intensely. I'm just gonna bring it like that. And remember, the whole time you're drawing this, you wanna think tornado. So think of that cone shape. And remember, we're just drawing rough here right now. So if you just wanna get the apparent motion first. All right, this is continuing to move to the right. This will move to the left, continue to the point at the bottom. This continues to move to the right. This moves to the left and to the point on the bottom. The last keyframe, it's starting to move back. And remember, we are on 4s right now. So we're just going to look at this purple set of lines that we've drawn right here to see what that motion looks like. All right, there's a little hiccup. Let's find the hiccup. So we're just going to use G to go key to key. It's moving. I'm going to turn my onion skin off. All right, so once again, we're just going to go keyframe to keyframe to look. Moving to the left, it's moving to the right. It's moving to the right. So there's a jump between the last one and the first one. So one thing that we can do here is, here's a really quick, dirty, cheap way to do this. We're going to just bring up a new drawing layer, and we're going to call this X because we're going to use it and then throw it away. So this X layer is now it wound up on the bottom. I want to put it right on top of my drawing layer, and it jumped all the way to the top. Hold on a second. Stupid Toon Boom. Oh, Toon Boom is not behaving. Weird. Fine, we're just going to leave it right there just for this little demo right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this drawing, this purple drawing, and remember that I can just go to momentary select by hitting the command key. And I'm going to select all of this. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it in this X layer. I'm just going to paste it there, and I'm going to hit F5 to go all the way to the end. So that shows me in this drawing right there. So this orange line right here is my drawing number 1. If I deselect it, right now it's purple. That's my drawing number 1. So in the layer that we were on right here, I've got to get back to it. So I'm going to turn my onion skin on, but I'm going to only limit it to the drawing before and the copy of the drawing in this X layer up there. All right, so then on this keyframe, let's go to this one first. So this keyframe is right here. That's this one. And we're probably going to need to adjust that a little bit. In this keyframe, which is the second to the last one, it's right here, but we've got to get it all the way over to this pale purple line. So I've got to make up that amount of distance. That's why it's jumping. So what I'm going to do is instead of drawing more drawings, I'm just going to go to my momentary eraser. And I'm just going to fix this line by favoring this position right here. It used to be this. It's going to be this in a moment. Now it's there. So now I'm going to erase the bottom part of this line, trying not to be confused about where it's going. So it's going from what used to be the purple, and I'm going to go right down the middle right here and open this up so there's a nice little compound curve like that. And let's do this on the other side here. So this line just needs to be in between, favoring the purple line up here, but I'm going to give a second little arc right there, just like that. And I'm, again, thinking tornado, because that's looking funky town right here. This, I don't have enough wave right here, so I'm going to erase all of this. And I can see that I've got an outside curve here, and that this is an outside curve already. So I'm just going to in between it, and I'm going to try to get as much of an inside curve inside to the center core right there. Now I'm going to turn this X layer off. Actually, I'm going to delete this X layer. And that's weird. The X layer wound up inside a debris. That's probably why it didn't want to move. I'm just going to turn it off. All right, so let's take a look at the core that we just animated. All right, so it's moving a lot better right now. Everyone okay? Questions? Everyone okay? All right, so now let's add dimension to this. So, and I'm going to use the same color. And so keeping in mind our little grid up on top. So for this orientation, I would actually use that vanishing point. But right here, I'm going to use a fake vanishing point that's about right here. And I'm just going to draw the grid really lightly. I'm going to draw it bigger than my drawing. I want it to be square. And so this is the top of my tornado. That's the top. And I can start to draw construction lines. And right about here, it's going to be flat. And then down here, it's going to be going the other way. All right, so let's do that on each subsequent drawing here, just to connect it and to get these guys in 3D. It's not going to be that hard. Keep the top up here. All right. All right, so between this one and this one, it jumped up a lot. So this one's the last one, and I kind of lost a little volume right here. So let's go back to the first one, back one. This is the ending key. So I'm going to give more volume up here. It also kind of pushes out just a little bit more. All right, let's see what it looks like. All right, that's pretty good right there. All right, so then the next thing that we want to talk about, oops, stop. All right, so the next thing that we want to talk about is this. And instead of explaining this, I'm just going to draw it again. Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw over it. All right, so let me figure out where that was. All right, we'll just put it on this background layer. All right, so now when you're planning out, let's do this really quickly. Let's go and look at one of my boards. I don't have Pinterest open yet. What's wrong with me? All right, let's just take a look at this guy. We looked at a bunch of them last week. You know, this one's okay. You definitely have a good amount of rotation. It's counterclockwise. The debris is looking good. We looked at that one last week. We like this one too. And it might have been even this exact GIF that the director of the game department was kind of flipping out about. Because all of those shapes right there are driven from the Unity engine. So Unity is just deciding on all those shapes. And he's like, you know, we can do better than that. He likes it, it's okay. But I think that what he wanted to do was give more of a craft to the actual drawing itself. So let's take a look at this one. You know, that's pretty ominous. I love this upper atmospheric stuff up there. You know, that's crazy. I love how this debris just explodes and comes towards the camera. You know, that one's nice. So again, you know, flipping back and forth and keeping things in your eye. Here's how you keep track of this. What we're going to do right now is we're just going to give ourselves a top-down view of this tornado. And what we're going to determine is that we're going to want 8 discrete drawings around the middle somewhere. So in order to do that, I'm just going to draw 4, 6, and 8 lines like this. So what it means is that if the stuff is moving in a counterclockwise fashion, it's going to come in front of the camera first and go around that way. So I just number the positions. This is position 1, this is position 2, this is position 3, this is position 4, this is position 5, 6, 7, and 8. Easy enough to understand, everybody? All right, so here's a problem. If the camera is right here and we are the viewer looking at this tornado, what happens is that 2 and 8 are like almost right on top of each other, and 4 and 6 are right on top of each other, and 3 and 7 are right on top of each other. So what I had recommended was shifting this and rotating it just a little bit. And so you just take this and you rotate it just a little bit so that each one of those positions is in a new space for the camera. Everyone understand? Okay, I'm not seeing any questions. All right, so I'm going to deselect this. Now, there's a center core here where that was 8. This one right here was 8 drawings. 8 drawings. And so if you want to go around the center here, you could probably go around the center in 4 drawings. So if there's something, I'm going to change to this orange color here. So if there's like a cloud moving right here for 1 drawing, then that means, and it's going this way, then that means the next cloud is going to be right here. And then that's cloud number 2. And then the next one is cloud number 3. And then the 4th one is going to be cloud number 4. So that one is on 4s. I'm going to put that right here. All right, so then if you were going to do a really clean factor of 4 and 8, you can probably get a 12, which is just 3 times 4. Or you can probably do a 16. I don't know why I did 14 out here, but you can take this 8 and translate it into 16. All right, so we've got this green smoke going around on 8s, got this orange on 4s. If we wanted to do 12, we do the same thing here. 1, let's count this out. 1, and then 2, and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Looks like I put this 11 right here, and 12. See those numbers? Let me circle them for you. Oops, sorry. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then the outer one has 16 on it. So the outer one, you just start from any particular number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and I messed one. Oh, this just said 14. So you would want this to be 16 so it factors into the timeline. All right, so now you take this into account. So this is a nice little key for you, is that your cone squishes in the middle. And then in this example, I think that I was losing my mind or something, but your cone really does this in this example here. It just gets really narrow towards the bottom. So keeping this in mind, this helps you keep track of what, let's just use one of these 12 ones as an example, and we're going to use just the orange color again. So what I've drawn here is the length of this little cloud ribbon, so that in this camera view, the very front part of the cloud ribbon, once again going that way, is going to wrap around to this point. And so any one of these, it's going to move a good solid inch scale on my screen. But there's an issue to keep track of this, because anything in this anything in this range is hidden from the camera. And so what I mean by that is that the clouds that are in front hide these clouds. So when you're drawing the ones that go fast, you might just see the little tail of this one. And then you might just see the little head of the smoke coming around this way. For all of these, you may not see drawing 6, 7, and 8 at all, because they're hidden from the three-dimensional volume of the tornado. So keep that in mind. This drawing, and this drawing, you may not see them. But in order to get the timing correct, you're going to have to show the tail of 5 and maybe the tail of 6 a little bit, right? Maybe the tail of 6. Going like this. And then you'll see the head of 9, and then 10, 11, 12. So that's what you want to think about when you're doing these little ribbons over here. All right, so let me turn this perspective off. And so I showed you how to lay out this core. And so now let's just talk about the ribbons going around it. Let's take another look at just how it's moving. All right, so let's talk about any one of these particular black ribbons. Let me get to one. So these little guys here, these little purple guys, are the ones that are following this key right here. They're just going really fast around the center. And you can either pick 4 or 6 frames. But what I want to show you the main ribbon part. So this is the main ribbon. All right, so on this one, we're going to zoom in just to look at this. We're going to go keyframe to keyframe. So what I'm doing here, actually, let me do one more thing quickly. Yeah, good. This is a good place to start because these ribbons right here are just going around the center of it. And I didn't put them straight just because it's more interesting to see them curve around a little bit. So I'm just going to draw one like this. And I'm looking at my reference shapes, right? I'm looking at like this one down here. What are it's smoke, right? It's smoke. It is tornado, it's clouds, it's smoke. I'm going to draw this one here. Here's the tail end of this one. So this one's like more like a ribbon. It's more like a flag. This one's got a three-dimensional quality to it where it's wrapping around this side and the back side at the same time. So those are 3 discrete little ribbons. And I'm going to animate them so that this tail is moving a little bit. And I don't want the upper and lower lines to be right on top of it because the apparent motion will stall. So like right here, this one's on top of it. I'm going to sketch it in just a little bit above it because if I don't, then the apparent motion will stall. So again, so now I can see the tail end of the ribbon. And this is one of the reasons why drawing it going up is easier because it's easy to see where those lines are going. Tail end of the ribbon, draw it up from it, and then look, here it comes around the back. And again, you're just following your key. So now on this one, it looks like I hadn't completed it yet. Bring it over here, and here's the front of the ribbon. And then you just, so I have these all in separate layers. And you build it. You can see that I had a different tornado there to begin with. That one was a little fatter, a little chubbier. There's lots of different options right there. All right, so remember that what I'm looking at is that this is not going to be due for a couple weeks. So a couple of things that I'll leave you with, just in terms of planning, are the following things. And I'm going to draw this on the background layer here. So one thing to remind yourself about, let me put this on this layer. All right, so things are going to move slow in the upper part. So that's why you want to use a factor of 14 or 16. Remember that 16 factors into 8 factors into 4. 14 is a strange number. I don't know why I picked this number. It might have just been a mistake. This is a better factor right here, animating on 4, 8, 12, and 16. These are better numbers for keeping track of it. It moves slow in the upper part. It moves medium around the middle, and then fast right around the core. And again, remember that in this orientation up here, that this direction up here is counterclockwise. And if you've ever seen a tornado and you can see that the clouds are moving counterclockwise, it's terrifying. Just the counterclockwise motion makes you terrified. So it's still moving counterclockwise here, and it's still moving counterclockwise down here. It's just that it's in the different perspective orientation, just like that. All right, so remember that this is going to be good, the factoring. So these guys down here are probably going to move around in 4s right here. And then these guys here are going to move around the core on 8s. And then you can go to 16s for these guys up here. All right, everyone okay? All right, let's talk about this debris here for a second. Ah, I went too far. All right, so the winds down here are anywhere between 150 to 250 miles per hour. It's going to destroy anything that's in this technical path right here. So this is my little square where the winds are actually touching the ground. And if I put the center point, that's where the wind is the absolute highest. Dorothy Gale does not stand a chance. So once you've got the core moving, once you've got the ribbons moving, remember that what I want is, I want us to look good. You know, for whatever you pick, I want this to be a portfolio piece. So there has to be debris kicking up and falling. So just like we would do in any sort of animation class, we're just going to do 2D animation, bouncing ball. And we're going to look at this. And I alluded to this last week, but let's just take a look at one of these. You know, this one is okay. So what we're looking at is we're looking at stuff coming off the ground, rising, falling. You don't have to put the squash and stretch in there. And I don't think that you need all of these bounces. This is a squishy, bouncy ball, but we do want at least thinking about the stuff coming off the ground here, going up, and then hitting the ground and maybe bouncing once. So maybe a heavier bouncing ball like this, where animators would animate like a bowling ball bouncing or a very heavy box. But what we have is we have drawings that are closer together when they're in the top of the arc, and then they're further apart when they hit the ground, and then they're close together at the top again. So on this arc right here, the debris comes up, it reaches its highest point, it goes down. In this example right here, it bounces once, twice, and 3 times. So and I'm doing it. So what I would do is I would get a handle on your right and your left bouncing arcs, and then get a handle on the one that comes towards you and towards you to the right. And then maybe one that goes off into the distance. Now I'm going to stop because it's getting a little messy, but let's just pick this one. And we're going to pick a different color. So in order to plot this debris here, it's going to come off the ground, and then it's going to go fast. It's moving really fast. And then it's going to start slowing down. Same thing that you could do with your explosions for your projectiles coming out of the volcano. Same idea. Now it's going to start to speed up. And I put this one here so that this apparent motion is faster than the other one. So then it's going to bounce and it's going to slow down, and then it's going to speed up, and put 3 at the top here, and then 1, 1, 1. So then you use your timing and you can count this out. Frame 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, 19, 21, 23, 25, 27, 29, 31, 33, 35, count these out, 37, 39, 41, 43, 45, 47, and then 49. Now, if you're thinking about your factoring here, how long do you want this to loop? So if you're factoring this and you say, I've got all of this stuff locked in, it's working great. My 16s are working, my 8s are working, my 4s are working, it looks good. If I take this all in the timeline down here and I copy and paste each one after I'm done, my factor is 32. And then I can add these two together and I can get 48, right? See that? See what I'm doing? So I'm just, all of these smoke and core tornado stuff moving, moving, moving. I'm just copying it once for 32 and once for 48. So now if I come back to here, oops, I can see that by this 49, that this determines the overall timing. So you're gonna need, oops, hold on a second. So at least a 48 frame loop, just by these pieces of math, the little pieces of numbers right there. Let's do some more on the other side here. And we do the same exact thing. This one's gonna come up. Now, the one thing that you wanna do here when you're doing the debris is that you do wanna count these, but you don't wanna start them all on the same exact drawing, because then they'll all be twinning each other. And so let's just make this go fast. Then it slows down. Then it starts to speed up again. Then it slows down. Then it speeds up. All right, then you count them out. You know, and I don't think you need to do this for each one, but if you don't number these, and you're going to remind yourself that you do have 48 frames, but maybe this starts on frame 11. Just make yourself a little note. I think that when you look at this guy and you start, how many little pieces of debris are in there? There's good 20, 30 of them in there. See them all? If you can see it, I can't zoom on the GIF here, but there's a good 30 of them in there. 20, at least 20. So that means that on just one layer, you're gonna have 20 of these guys. And I don't think you need to draw an arc like this for every single one of them. Just get it in your hand how it works. And then do another one over here, and another one here, and another one here, and just fill it up. The tornado is ripping the whole town apart. And then, in this example here, there's stuff that's in the middle that's coming right at the camera. So in other words, this guy isn't coming up on this loop. This guy's coming up and he's coming right at the camera. So this little debris started down here. It's still big. It's moving fast. It was about here. So for whatever drawing number this was, let's just say it's drawing 13, 15, 17, and then all of a sudden it's going to be huge. It's going to be like right here. See the arc? And then off this, and then it's going to be off the screen. Then the next one is going to be like here, and that's the last one. So that's a really big, fast debris right there. Let's do one in purple, where it's going to come from this position. It's going to go up. It's going to go up again. It's going to reach the top of the arc. And this one is going to come right towards the camera. And that's probably all you'll need. In order to get it to read, you just have 2 down here and put it on 2. So you got 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, and drawing 17. My recommendation is to just have 1 or 2 layers of debris and just do one at a time. And then go back to the first frame, and don't start on the first frame. Start on frame 3, then do another one. Then go on frame 5 and do another one. So you can see here, I've just got a couple of them as my example. See the little green one moving right here? See, it's moving on that arc. So, and I would recommend planning this out, just doing a whole bunch of them. So one thing that is maybe not quite as apparent to you is that just like we were doing with our perspective grid, with the big square up here in the sky and the smaller one down here for the contact point of the tornado, take this big square one and make another big square one down here for your debris field. Draw a circle around it, and that's generally where the debris is going to land. So it goes up and lands, and then have a couple come towards camera. I think that's really scary. So in your timeline, the ones that come towards camera, you would just make a separate layer, and we'll just call this debris 1. And it's in a strange place. Boy, Toon Boom doesn't like me moving layers today at all, huh? Yeah, very strange. I got a gnome in this project. All right, so let's just take this one and animate. Let's take the green one and animate the green one, but I want to do it in black, and I'm going to do it starting on frame 13. And so I remember where it was. So it's going to come from here. And we're on 2s. You got the idea? So you got one piece of debris coming right at the camera, whole bunch of little ones. I think that what you would want to do, let me see if I did this part. Oh yeah, I didn't take the sketch like I had from our thumbnails. So what this one is just this sketch right here, number 5. And remember that if you haven't done a water splash, then you might want to do a project number 4 or whatever, project 6, to do just a water splash, rain and water splash, if you haven't done that yet. All right, so for the volcano, once again, I'm looking for this core movement. I'm going to be looking for perspective. I want to make sure that you've got the perspective on the ground plane correct. You've got this perspective up in the sky. And remember that one thing that would be driving your sketch is that on this particular perspective layer here, you should really be making allowances for the deep perspective. Like for instance, the vanishing point is here, and there are clouds everywhere. So if I take a really, really large square right here, that goes completely off screen, and their center point is still right there, then that gives me a chance to play with clouds that are here. Everyone understand this little quick sketch? So these clouds in the upper atmosphere will give your project a huge dynamic. And on this one particular layer, that's just one ribbon that's going around it. But because there's more room to play with here, you can add all kinds of other things moving. You can add a smaller one that's moving faster and crosses over it and crosses back, disappears, and then comes back, right? So, and then count. So if these guys are moving on the 16 factor, then just count these out. And again, I think that if you're utilizing your space correctly, that you could have these ominous ribbons of clouds out here that are just moving like this. Do it all on a separate layer. Follow your key, right? Look at how far apart these guys are, and follow your key.
Strange to have a focal point as grand as a tornado and then like having that compete with weird water drops.
Yeah, here's like a Disney-esque kind of water splash.
This
But
scale
you can use lightning. So you have room to do this. So just with my white color here, I'm going to use a brush because I think the brush is big. I'll make it a little bigger. So tornadoes, there's lightning in tornadoes too. And so you've only got 32 frames to play with. So just bring some lightning in where it touches like the ground or something.
Could we repurpose the lightning? Maybe make it like
No, just do new
across the
ones.
thunder?
No, just do new ones.
No. I meant like instead of doing the traditional like hitting from the sky to the ground, maybe we repurpose the lesson you gave us and make lightning streak across the
Sure.
tornado. Yeah.
So from this example, I went past it. Hold on a second. So from this example, the lightning is going up. You can do that, and then this is a great example because you can see the upper atmospheric grid. You can see the grid and the ground plane. The debris is not moving quite as much as I would like it. But you can see stuff swirling around it. It's pretty good. The odd thing is that it's not referencing any other ones down here, which is weird. But yeah, you could certainly have the lightning go up. Absolutely. Javon, I'm missing your pixie dust. Please upload it to the late or missing work folder. Jack, did I see one in there? I have a grade for you, but I don't see. Jack, are you there? Jack, you're muted.
Yeah, I know. You mean for pixie dust?
Yeah,
There should be one there. Yeah.
I didn't see it. Let me take one moment.
Let me check. Look. It is admittedly still, I think, incomplete. It's like submitted, but there's still like, it has the same problem as what Christie's had, where it's like, it's just kind of. In fact, I think I might have actually misnamed that one too. Let me look.
Daniel, Linksy,
I would
Para,
edit the file.
Chrissy.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, but I don't think you delivered it. Or no, wait.
It's right here, number 12. But I will. It's just under the name Pixie Dust, so that's probably why you don't have it.
All right. You still need to finish it?
Yeah, the last 2 frames. I thought I'd be making myself have less work by making by doing one big swoop instead of like, because you said I had like way too many of those little pool parts.
Right.
And like do 5, and I'm like, well, if I do 1, that'll be even less, right? No, it turns out that means I do even more particles, so I screwed up.
Right.
Yeah,
So
Fun
get it
process
in.
of it.
Get it into me, please.
will do.
Get it in. Okay, so let me